For bread. Show him how it's done.
Yeah, I can sell this pen.
That's my boy right there. Can do anything.
You want me to say the words?
Be gentle with those words.
You want to know what this pen comes with?
Oh shit, it's coming.
Free shipping, mother.
Some companies sell coffee for $1. Other companies sell what is essentially the exact same coffee for $7. And somehow, millions of people happily buy it, every single morning. Which raises a pretty obvious question. What exactly are they selling? Because it isn't coffee. If it were, the cheaper one would win every time. But it doesn't. In fact, some of the most successful businesses in the world charge far more than everyone else, and somehow end up with more customers. The best businesses don't convince you to buy. They build offers where buying feels like the obvious decision. And once you see how they do it, you'll start noticing it everywhere. From coffee, to Rolex, to Apple, to that suspiciously expensive soap bar you somehow bought anyway. By the end of this video, you'll realize something that completely changes the way you think about business. The companies making the most money often aren't selling the best products. They're selling something far more valuable. Nobody wants the cheapest option. Imagine you're buying a bottle of water. One costs $1, another costs $7. Which price makes more sense to you? The answer, of course, is neither, because water bottles are for losers.
Why are you walking around with a bottle? You need your hands free. What if you have to grab a girl's ass or punch a dude in the face? What if you're not combat ready?
What's that? You'd still go for the $1 bottle? That makes sense, but now imagine this. You just landed after an 8-hour flight. Your mouth feels like you've been chewing sandpaper. You walk into the airport shop. You see it. A tiny bottle of water. $6.95. You stare at it for a second. Well, that's just ridiculous. There's no way anyone would ever pay That's good. You buy it anyway. The $7 water didn't become better. You just became more desperate. Same water, different situation, different value. And that's the first thing almost every business gets wrong. They think people buy the cheapest product. They don't. People buy the product that feels like the best deal. Those are very different things. Alright, look. Think about a gas station. Imagine one station sells gasoline for €1.79 a liter. The one across the street charges €1.83. Nobody walks in saying, yeah, but does this gasoline have better character? It's gas. It goes in the car. If people can't tell the difference, they'll compare the only thing they can. The price. Congratulations, you've just entered the wonderful world of commodities. A commodity is a product that's basically interchangeable. Rice, sugar, gasoline, electricity, bottled water, which is exactly where you do not want to compete. Commodities, bad. Because there's always going to be someone willing to make a little less money than you. Then someone willing to make even less. Then someone who apparently opened a business purely for the love of losing money. It's a race to the bottom. And nobody wins. Now, compare that with something like Apple. No, not that Apple, this one. Imagine someone asks why you bought an iPhone. Nobody says, well, after carefully comparing the processor architecture, they say, it just works. My friends have one. The ecosystem. Half the value isn't inside the phone, it's inside everything around it. Whether you think it's technically worth the money or not doesn't actually matter. The important part is this. People aren't comparing an iPhone to the cheapest phone they can find. They're comparing it to another iPhone. That's exactly where you want to be. The moment people stop comparing prices, they start comparing value. So the first rule of selling isn't to lower your prices, it's to make your product difficult to compare in the first place. Think about two online fitness coaches. The first says, I'll help you lose weight. Yeah, well, so do 50,000 coaches. The second says, I'll help busy dads lose 10 kilograms in 90 days without giving up pizza. Now we're talking. Same industry, completely different offer. The more specific and unique your product becomes, the fewer direct competitors you have. And something interesting happens. Your customer is no longer choosing between you and a cheaper competitor, they're choosing between your offer and not solving their problem at all. That's a much better place to be. You're selling to the wrong people. Let's say you've built the greatest weight loss program ever created. People lose weight, they keep it off, they become healthier, their dog suddenly respects them. Perfect product. Now imagine trying to sell it to a kindergarten class. Exactly. The problem isn't your product, it's your audience. Now, I know this sounds obvious, but trust me, businesses make this mistake all the time. They spend months improving their product when the real problem is they're trying to sell deodorant to a Reddit mod. So how do you know you found the right market? There are 4 things to look for. The first is pain. Picture this. It's 3 a.m. You've had a toothache for 6 hours. Someone offers to sell you a mindfulness podcast. No thanks. An intimate massage. No thanks. A painkiller. How many can I legally take? Problems create demand. The painkiller is something you need right now. People rarely buy because they want something, they buy because they desperately want a problem to disappear. The bigger the pain, the easier the sale. The second thing is purchasing power. Again, this one sounds obvious, yet people ignore it constantly. You could create the greatest resume course ever made. It could genuinely double someone's chances of getting hired. But if you're selling it to a homeless guy for $2,000, good luck. Or imagine trying to sell an excavator. Dude, I'm telling you, this puppy's got pilot joystick controls, load-sensing hydraulics, an enclosed heated cab, 0 tail swing, and an automatic idle system. You don't just buy this excavator, you inherit a lifestyle. Okay, but the best I can do is $7. And I got this cool rock. Now obviously, there's nothing wrong with your excavator in this scenario. The kid's just lowballing you. You don't just need customers who want your product. You need customers who can actually afford it. Unless you're an American healthcare provider, of course. The third thing is being easy to reach. Imagine your perfect customers all live somewhere. You just have absolutely no idea where. No Facebook groups, no Reddit communities, no YouTube channels, no newsletters, nothing. Congratulations, you've found the world's most profitable invisible audience. Marketing becomes much easier when your customers naturally gather in the same places. Find where they already spend their time instead of trying to make them come to you. Finally, you want a market that's growing. You want to open a video rental store? 40 years ago? Great idea. Today, slightly less great. You don't want to paddle against the current if you can simply choose a river flowing in the right direction. The best businesses grow because their market grows with them. Now, suppose you found a market with all 4. Pain, money, easy to reach, growing, perfect. Here's where most people make their next mistake. They try selling to everyone. Fitness for everyone, marketing for everyone, business coaching for everyone. That sounds impressive. It also sounds like absolutely nothing. If I say I help people manage their time, that's nice. If I say I help night shift nurses reclaim 2 hours every day, now it feels like I built it specifically for someone. That's because niches remove competition. The more specific your audience becomes, the fewer people can honestly say, yeah, we do exactly that. Ironically, making your audience smaller often makes your business bigger. Because people don't buy products made for everyone. They buy products that feel like they were made specifically for them. So before you change your product, ask yourself a much simpler question. Am I selling to the wrong people? Because even the perfect offer can't convince someone to buy a painkiller when they don't have a headache. Finding the right customer solves one problem. Now you have to answer an even scarier question. How much can you charge before people laugh and leave? It turns out, probably a lot more than you think. Price is just a number. Imagine I try to sell you a course for $5,000. Would you buy it? Please? Probably not. Alright, now let me change absolutely nothing about the course except one thing. I promise that by the end of the year it will reliably make you an extra $100,000. Same course, same price, different decision. The course didn't become cheaper, it became more valuable. That's the biggest misunderstanding in business. People think customers hate expensive products. They don't. People hate bad deals. Nobody walks into a Ferrari dealership and says, "Wow, these cars are expensive." Wait, actually, they probably do. But the people buying them don't. Because to them, the value is higher than the price. Price is what you pay. Value is what you get. And those two numbers exist entirely inside your customer's head. That's why two people can look at the exact same product, and one thinks, "What a ripoff," while the other says, "I'll take two." You're not trying to convince people they want to pay the price, you want to convince them they want the value you're selling. So how do you increase value? Surprisingly, you don't always need to improve the product. Sometimes you just improve the experience around it. There are 4 ways to do that. First, the dream outcome. People don't buy gym memberships, they buy the dream of getting 6-packs. Nobody buys accounting software, they buy not going to prison. Nobody buys a language course, they buy the moment they can finally talk to their Japanese girlfriend without needing Google Translate. You're selling the end result, not the thing itself. Second, certainty. Imagine 2 surgeons. The first says, "I'll do my best." The second says, "I've successfully performed this operation over 3,000 times." Suddenly, the price matters a lot less. The more certain people are they'll succeed, the less they care what it costs. Third, speed. People pay ridiculous amounts of money to save time. Express shipping, Uber, food delivery, business class. Time is one of the few things rich and poor people receive in exactly the same amount. 24 hours per day. That's why businesses that save time can charge so much. Finally, effort. Humans are lazy as We can be unbelievably creative when trying to avoid effort. Think about it. We will buy the same phone charger 3 times just so we can have one for every room, instead of just moving one around. We got robot vacuums, home assistants, automatic curtain openers, self-stirring coffee mugs. I didn't even know this shit existed until I looked it up for this video. Really? Stirring a spoon is too much effort for you? Anyway, whether it's good for you or not does not matter. The point is this: convenience sells. The easier you make success feel, the more valuable your offer becomes. Notice something interesting? None of these 4 things required lowering the price. You simply made the customer think, "This is worth it." And here's the part that seems backwards. Charging more can actually create better customers. If someone pays $5 for an online course, they'll probably watch the first 3 minutes before getting distracted by a funny capybara video. If they pay $2,000, they suddenly become very committed students. People naturally value things they've invested in. Ever notice how people defend expensive purchases? That's not an accident. A higher price creates higher commitment. Higher commitment creates better results. Better results create happier customers, which lets you charge even more. It's a surprisingly unfair cycle. So don't ask, "How can I lower my price?" Ask a much better question. How can I make this feel so valuable that the price becomes the least interesting part? Build an offer people feel stupid saying no to. Most people build their offers like this: "I'll design your website. I'll teach you guitar. I'll help you lose weight." That's it. Unfortunately, that's also what 1,000 other people are offering. The best businesses don't just sell a result, they remove every excuse for not getting that result. Remove every reason not to buy their product. Oh, you don't need a new shirt? Wait, let me just burn every shirt you've ever owned and every shirt that has ever existed. What's that? Oh, you need a new shirt now? Yeah, of course, no problem, here you go. We got medium, large, extra large. Suddenly, business is booming. Unfortunately, so is the prison sentence. The point is, the stronger someone's need becomes, the easier selling gets. Now, if arson isn't part of your business model, let's imagine you're selling a weight loss program again. Most people stop at lose 10 kilograms in 3 months. Sounds nice. Now ask yourself one question. What would stop someone from buying your weight loss program? Maybe they don't know what to cook. Maybe they hate grocery shopping. Maybe they don't have time. Maybe they're embarrassed to go to the gym. Maybe they think they'll lose motivation after 2 weeks. Congratulations, you've just found your real product. Every obstacle is an opportunity to add value. If grocery shopping is stressful, include shopping lists or meal plans. If cooking takes too long, include 15-minute recipes. If motivation disappears, build a progress tracker or weekly check-ins, or a private community. Notice what's happening? You're no longer selling weight loss. You're selling a system that makes failure increasingly difficult. And the beautiful part is, many of these improvements are surprisingly cheap to implement. A PDF, a checklist, a calculator, an app, a short video. Once you've made them, you can give them to thousands of customers for almost nothing. Some of the best improvements aren't even practical. They're psychological. Imagine an elevator. You could spend millions making it twice as fast, or you could simply install mirrors. People start looking at themselves, checking their hair, practicing facial expressions, visualizing themselves as the person they want to be. The elevator didn't become faster. People just became narcissists. That's the difference between a logical solution and a psychological one. Businesses that understand psychology often beat businesses with bigger budgets, because perception is part of the product. Now put everything together. You have the right market, a product people actually want, a price that reflects its value, and dozens of small solutions that remove every reason to say no. At that point, people aren't comparing your offers with competitors anymore. They're comparing it with continuing to live with the problem they currently have. And that's a comparison you'll win surprisingly often. Because the goal was never to create the cheapest offer, it was to create one that feels almost stupid to refuse. Ending. So, remember that $7 coffee? Turns out, it was never about the coffee. It was about the friends you made along the way. Wait, no, wrong line. Remember that $7 coffee? Turns out, it was never just about the coffee. It was about convenience, consistency, atmosphere, a place to work. The experience of hearing your name pronounced in ways you didn't know were possible. And for some people, a little bit of status too. Whether all that is actually worth $7, I'll let you decide. The point is, people don't just buy products, they buy what they believe those products will do for them. And that's an important distinction. Because great businesses shouldn't rely on manipulation. Manipulation is convincing someone to buy something they don't actually need. Selling is helping someone solve a problem they already wanted solved. The better your product genuinely solves that problem, the less selling you actually have to do. Eventually, people stop asking, "Should I buy this?" They start asking, "Where has this been all my life?" That's the difference between a product and a business people genuinely recommend. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to spend my $7 on
Fortnite.
Oh, that's hot. That's hot.